Welcome to ThinqTanq, where our diverse leaders tackle your diverse challenges. Today, we're going to tackle what to do when you are undermined by your direct reports at work. I'm your host, Ray P. Ferrer, head witch in charge over at Ray Coach, and won't you join me in welcoming today's fabulously stunning ThinqTankers?
Hey, hi, my name is Miguel Yanez. I'm a transformational coach and I'm calling from Winchester, California.
I'm Kelly Macias. I'm an equity and inclusion consultant and I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
I'm Robin Ingram. I'm an assistant vice president at the Fund for Johns Hopkins Medicine, calling from Baltimore, Maryland.
Glad to have you all aboard today. I need your brains on this one though, because our challenge is as follows. Dear ThinqTanq, today I am really upset about the aggressive and dismissive conduct of men of color in my workplace. I am a Latina and I supervise 3 men in my organization, 2 of whom are men of color. We presume the other one is white. I am mostly hands-off when it comes to their day-to-day work, yet they constantly undermine me in meetings, speaking over me, correcting me, or flat out dismissing and ignoring what I have to say. A few times when they've asked for me to approve funds for a project, I have said no, only to have them go behind my back to get a yes from my supervisor. Last week, when I had my one-on-one meeting with one of them and gave him an assignment, he responded by laughing and saying, quote, "Oh, sweetie, I am not going to do that just so you can give it to somebody else." Unquote. I am exhausted with being met with hostility and being ignored. Why is this happening and what can I do? Signed, In My Feelings. ThinqTankers, have you ever had this experience and what are your thoughts?
I've had this experience before, but it wasn't the entire team. It was a few people on my team. And the way I addressed it was to pretty much talking to them separately. I think that's the best way communication. And also, you have to let them know because the way they're acting is going to cause an effect. What effects that's causing and how that is pretty much creating problems and how that is taking us back from progress at work and how that is in the way of getting things done. I don't know, Robin, and what do you think about it? But that's the way I handle it. I talk to them and let them know this is what's happening and this is what's causing. Here's a way that we can resolve it by talking to each other. I think it's very important for them to know the consequences of their actions in a good way.
And now you say you talked about the consequences of the actions on work, like it's getting in the way of work. Has anybody shared the consequences of those actions on you, like how it's affecting you?
So I've been in a situation where I felt like someone who reports to me didn't respect me or did things to undermine me. Not to this extent, because I feel like I would have had to professionally shut that down, and not let things it sounds like things are snowballing when they need to be addressed immediately. The other thing that kind of piqued my interest a little bit is, unless there is some like clear evidence of some race being included, she said 2 black men, but is it because it's a racial thing, or is it because they just happen to be the 2 that are doing this on the team? But I think that it needs to be addressed every time there's a form of, I see it as disrespect. If you're going, behind me and not doing things, or going to my boss, which that's also a conversation I think that needs to be had with the boss as well, of explaining, the decision that was made, and then this person is coming around and how that is impacting the team dynamic. And I don't want to keep going on, but this one, it has me kind of heated. So I'll pause. Kelly, I'm tag teaming to you.
So the person said they were in their feelings. I'm in my feelings too. So let's be really, really honest, or as a good friend of mine says, hablemos claro. A lot of men don't want to be led by women, right? And so there's this dynamic to me of both the men kind of going around, this person's back, this Latina's back, but also that they're men of color. And, we have to have a conversation about allyship in the workplace, right? What does it look like to be allies? Here is this Latina woman who is in charge of this team, and these two men of color are undermining her. And so for me, that has me in my feelings. That has definitely happened to me. And in my cases, when it's happened, I've had to enlist other men of color as allies to really sort of set folks straight.
It's interesting. There's a now look moment that I feel like has to happen here. Now let's pay attention to what you're doing and the impact it's having on all of us right now. Often in these think tank conversations, we talk about the fact that we've got to all move together. We've got to move forward together as people of color in the workplace, right? And this won't work. If you're stepping over your Latina boss, this isn't going to work. We're not all moving together. Exactly. Plus the basic, this is insubordination in some organizational cultures, right? So this is actually HR reportable, but anyway.
Yeah, and a lack of values. Where is the respect for the person that you report to or your team member? It just sounds like it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially, for me, you don't have to agree all the time with the direction that you're going, but the team leader, right, sets the direction. And so at some point you got to get on board, right? So where is there space for us to discuss a decision that's being made that I might not agree with it? And where do I have to just suck it up and say, okay, I'm on board with it, even if I don't agree with it? And it sounds like there needs to be some conversations had around that too.
And it sounds like there needs to be conversation about etiquette in meetings and team values, and even that, the conversation. I don't know if you realized this is what you did and how it came across, but when you did X, this is what I felt, and this is how others may have perceived it.
Yes.
And let's talk about some options for you to respond differently.
Yes, and please don't call me sweetie. I heard that too, right?
What was that?
That's actually not appropriate. Don't call me sweetie.
That's true.
What was that? Okay,
That's
hot
so
stuff, I
condescending.
won't. How you what is this workplace conversation about sweetie?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did once I talked to had that conversation is, what you give is what you get, right? So I started way more interested in their career, way more interested in their progress in the company. I make sure that they went to training and that they had all of the skills that they needed to perform their jobs. Meaning I definitely show a very genuine interest in their career. And it took a while, but after a while, things started changing. They're more interested about the collaborative work and our goals. And that really, really worked for me.
I'm listening to that and I'm thinking, in order to get to that, you have to feel like there's room for your own professional development. And there has to be space for you. So you could, it feels like if I'm this leader, if I'm this Latina leader, right, I probably am respect. I need my basic respect. I need my basic things right now on my job. And it's very difficult. It can be difficult to move from that headspace to let me put other people's careers in the center of my attention right now, right?
Correct.
I feel like you have to have somebody has to be having your career and your basics and your potential paid attention to in order for you to start being giving to the people who report to you. I'm just curious, what do y'all think about that? I'm just thinking that might be hard for me if I was in her shoes right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also say that I had mentioned before around the enlisting other men as allies. And I think that's important because I do think you need to have people who are paying attention to your development and your growth and how you set the tone for how you are received as a leader. So just wanted to say a little bit more about that. In my instance, I was the head of a project. And we knew that because the project was mostly men, we knew that there was going to be issues up front, potentially about how my leadership was respected. And I had very specific conversations with one trusted colleague about how I would like that person to intervene. So what that looked like was in meetings, right, when someone dismissed me or someone, went behind my back or did other things, that colleague had specific instructions about how I thought it was helpful to support me. So sometimes that was interrupting things in the moment. Sometimes that was repeating what I had said a few different times in a few different ways so that people heard it. And so I agree with enlisting people who support your leadership and your professional development as a way to help you move forward.
And because they mentioned that their boss has been involved in this situation, you may need to want to think about how to be intentional in enlisting your boss as an ally. So you're hopefully, when I had a situation like this, my boss knew what was going on. And the person even tried to go and meet with my boss. And because my boss was aware of the situation, they were able to respond in a way that didn't add fuel to the fire, but also supported me as a leader and in my decision making as well.
I have to agree with that because I did the same thing. I went to talk to my boss, and when this person went and tried to, talk to my boss, I already done that, and my boss was very supportive, and things worked better that way. So completely agree with Robin.
For me, it's calling out collusion, like making sure that who I'm reporting up to knows that it's bad form to collude, So if they hate your decisions and the people who report up to you don't like your decisions, then you have conversations. You don't collude around and do workarounds. And you have direct human conversations as if you were all adults.
Yeah, Ray, you had a much better way of saying it. I was sort of thinking about snitching. Like it sort of feels like this idea of like snitching a little bit. They say snitches get stitches. So this idea.
That's so Queens, New York schoolyard. I can't handle it.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
The Baltimore in me came out. But yeah, I sort of feel like there's this idea that like if you're feeding this up, filtering it up to your supervisor, then your supervisor already knows. And so your supervisor can be enlisted in a way that supports you rather than allows for this behavior where people go around you to continue.
Yeah.
And there's a way to share it with your supervisor where you're not coming across as being gossipy or sharing drama and trying to bring them in, because sometimes leaders don't want to be involved in the drama, but it's more of this is the situation, this is what I think would be helpful for you to do, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm open to any feedback you have about what I should be doing differently.
Well done. Well done. Thank you all. So we're going to stop here, even though we could keep talking for another half hour like we could with any of these things. We'll pause here and just review when you feel like this is happening. It's important to share feedback. Get feedback to your supervisor, giving feedback to the people who are going over your head or working around you, letting them know what the impact on you might be, maybe letting them know what the impact on the work and on the rest of the team and on the organization. Like this behavior ripples out. Paying attention to how your career is being taken care of, and then hopefully being able to transition to paying attention to taking care of their career so that they're not spending their time trying to undermine you. This is real, and to the person who wrote this in, I just want to say this situation unfortunately tends to recur in our professional careers, so it is likely that we will come across people who disrespect our authority as leaders of color, as women leaders of color, as LGBTQ leaders of color, etc. We have to have a toolbox around this and make sure that we are clean and direct and not let other people get the stuff out the way so that we are still moving up towards what we want and where we want to be, and don't let this distract and get us off track. Thank you all. Thank you, Think Tankers. And if you have a situation that you'd like us to have at, make sure that you send it to thinktank@raycoach.com. That's ThinkTank with a Q. And we'll have at it. All right, y'all. Take care. Glad to see you with us today. And we'll see you at the next one. Ciao.